Hmm. Oh, this looks pretty good. Enter Discord. Apologize for 1 second. I'm gonna go run to the toilet. Got myself a good old can of Sprite. Alright. How is everybody doing today? We can go ahead and get the stream open. Hopefully the quality's good enough for you, I hope. It does appear that everything looks good. If you do get, what do you call it? If you do get issues, what do you call it? I have this set on the max setting we can have, which is 1080p at 70 frames per second, which is a feat I've never accomplished before. So if something does decide to go wrong, I'm trying my best. That part is for sure. But glad to be here. Well, let me make sure to press spectate. That would be awful. I don't want to race, not on controller. We're going to get the Miami Grand Prix tab open. Only 14, 15 drivers we have on tap tonight, which is not quite a lot. Unfortunate as it is. I'm not going to drink Sprite now because it is a can, and I do not want things spilling on my laptop. Voice chat suspended, oh no. How will we ever survive with that? Thank you, Daryl, for saying that it looks good. On my screen, it looks as if it's good as well. Hopefully it stays that way. I may want to consider running and getting my controller charger, which actually I'm going to go do right now while I still have a couple of minutes. Smoky in here. And now, my controller shall be plugged in. Give it the light. Or the life, or well, something, I don't know. Appreciate the subscribe there, Bong It. Good to see ya. Well, we're getting down there as far as rounds are concerned. Now, honestly, what surprises me is how many rounds that this league has. 22 of them, to be exact. I mean, 17 is the longest I've ever commentated on. That was the F2 league I used to run. And we kind of felt like that was a lot. And the only reason why there was 17 is because the Thursday division at the time, what we used to run on Tuesdays, the Thursday division had those days off for various holidays that we didn't feel we interfered with. So we had 17 rounds on that season. Also, by the way, I mean, F2 would be pretty cool, so if that ever became a thing here, that would be outstanding. I love driving F2. I used to do pretty good at it. Matter of fact, I won the last ever Midwest F1 F2 race. And I say last ever. It didn't end up being that way because we started up again about 2 seasons later. Then it only lasted for a couple seasons, but, what are you going to do? Pontiac Bandit saying he's in cockpit view for the first time. Backup Bandit. I see that. Oh, that's pretty clever. Tell you what, cockpit view in this game is very, very difficult. As far as it's just... No matter how you use the camera settings, I mean, unless you're probably in VR, it's just really not going to look all that good. We do have 14 drivers checked in, 13 of us currently here, plus myself, unless that's the other way around. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. We're waiting for one more. Tell you what, I know I've kind of crapped on the soundtracks that this game has been given, but these are some pretty good beats here, has to be said. Let me just check my microphone audio really quick. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Probably go a little bit louder. That there is probably good. It is currently 10 o'clock here on the East Coast. I'm trying not to wake people up, as I'm in my new situation, as I live amongst my grandmother and my aunt here in Connecticut as I attend a real-life broadcasting school. Hotspot, you're already pretty good at this. You need a school? Well, as it turns out, yes. And what's even better is that both ESPN and I believe NBC Sports are located this way as well. A lot of opportunity this way as well as Boston as well. So it's going to be looking as if we get some pretty good stuff going on there. Let me make sure real quick that I have all my updates taken care of. I would not like to have updates presently taking place as I try to record here, and thankfully it looks as if we're all good. Only 13 on the grid tonight, which if you ask me should be enough to set this down to 35%. Honestly, that would probably be a good idea, not gonna lie. But awesome, I'm sure you'll do great. You got the voice and manage to commentate pretty well with the bare bones spectate mode that the games give you. Yeah, let me tell you something. Many people, myself included, hope for a lot of things for this game, like custom livery editors or, the game actually working. I would like to be able to select the actual cameras at my leisure instead of looking to see what the game gives me. Because let me tell you something, sometimes this game gives absolutely dog crap camera angles that I just can't use. So if you wonder why I go to the Halo cam a lot, that's probably why. We got 25 seconds here until we begin the qualifying session, or at least load in. I shall start the hard recording in about 5 seconds' time. And we'll start the hard recording now, usually about 10 seconds. That gives us some room to edit. And we're almost ready to go. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 15th round of the CCRL Elite Tier season. It's at the Miami International Autodrome in Miami, Florida. It surrounds the home of the Miami Dolphins, the Hard Rock Stadium. The track built in 2021, or, well, it made its debut in 2022. I'm assuming it was built a little bit prior to that, but well, it's an interesting situation that this track gets. First of all, hotspot on the call for you here tonight. Pleasure to be back. 13 drivers on the grid, which is not a lot, but thankfully we've been spared of the lengthened sessions with just the regular short qualifying and then the 29-lap Grand Prix yet to come. But it has to be said, this track, at least in real life, has not necessarily given us the great races like I'm sure the organizers would have hoped that they did. However, in the virtual world, I have no complaints, and that's typically how it is. Anytime we have a kind of a stinker in real life, it actually does pretty well in the virtual world. So again, only 13 drivers on track tonight. We were scheduled to have 14. I do not know who didn't decide to show up, but that's where we're at now. And it looks like our first driver out on track is going to be... Oh, who is that? It looks like it's going to be an AlphaTauri. Yes, it will. It'll be that of Curveball coming out on track first. His teammate, a Pontiac Bandit, or as tonight known as Backup Bandit, making his debut using cockpit cam, which is always a very difficult thing to try to do. Thankfully, he's in a position tonight where there's only 13 or 12 drivers around him. So it may be a good time to kind of experiment with that, which is interesting because I talked about this in the pre-show as well. The cockpit cam in this game, no matter how you adjust it, is just not going to be good. It does not give you the feel for the car and what's around it compared to say, other games. A game I can think of really well that does that was Project Cars 2 did that really well. Gran Turismo 7 does it pretty alright. This game, not so much, but either way. And that is unless you have VR. I'm assuming VR is much better, but not the case if you're a normal one like me. Curveball out on track here, making his way through the horseshoe section, as I like to call it. That's pretty much what it is. It kind of takes inspiration from we have the horseshoe at Coda. We used to have it at Sochi as well, and I believe we have it at Vegas this as well. In this, can't quite remember the Vegas layout off the top of my head. As simple as it is. I think it pretty much goes around the sphere where we have a slight system. Or no, it was supposed to be the horseshoe kind of complex, but then they added the chicane in by the sphere. Yes, that's right. Well, Curveball's going to be the first driver around track here. Let's see what he's got as he makes his way out of turn 19 across the line and down the pit straight he goes. Pretty straightforward first corner, this. Project Cars 2 is a goated game, as close to iRacing on console that we've seen so far. That is absolutely true. I still play it today. Matter of fact, I downloaded it on my PS5 because I love playing it. I have probably 300 hours just playing around in the game in solo player, because actually when I got the game, that was like the end of the lifespan for Project Cars, and it is still that good of a game. It's a shame that multiplayer was never really accessible and like well in that game. But it is still so fun. Curveball now making his way down the first of the two DRS sections that aren't on the pit straight. He's doing it here, making his way through turn 10 in towards the very tight left-hander of turn 11 into what I was referring to earlier as the horseshoe corner of turn 12. He'll do that. Exits the horseshoe then, turn 11. A little bit of a strange chicane this. I think the track would be kind of much better off if that chicane just didn't exist through 14 and 15. Through turn 16, and then down the very long backstretch here, he'll have DRS, and the DRS zone, I believe, even gotten shortened between the 2022 season and 2023. because these drivers are just putting the absolute limit to these power units as they make their way down into turn 17. Fun little corner this. We do see some overtaking here. It's not like a massively tricky corner, but exit does get a little bit of oversteer there as he exits now through turn 18 and down to the slight right-hander of turn 19. It's a 130, 496 for curveball. Not bad at all. The next driver on track is going to be that of Reimer on an outlap. Next up after that, I believe, is going to be the Williams of Hemphead, who has chosen the medium tires. Maybe one of those drivers. That's we've seen this time and time again. Same. I just happened to do private tests. Hate the series got canceled. It is just such a shame. But I think with how much they butchered Project Cars 3, because I mean, that game was just terrible from what I understand. But Hemphead coming across the line now in his Williams on the medium tires, 130.281. Now he's put about just over a tenth behind. Well, I was going to say about 2 tenths behind Hemphead, but Bong, it's actually gone that top spot at a 129.667. Pontiac Bandit, or Backup Bandit for this evening, has outqualified his teammate by a clean 2 tenths to start. And then we have the Red Bull of Owa, who has gone provisional pole. Next up behind is going to be R. Manson, with his teammate of Angry Walrus behind. Let's see Walrus get around the final corner here. And it's provisional pole for Mr. Walrus, a 127.571. And that has put a second and a half back to Owa. Very nicely done. McLaren with John the Prince has gone 5th. We got the Alfa Romeo of Johnny Damon back into the pit lane. And a little bit of on-track action there, as perhaps was it Guzman? No, it was Guzman, who's on an outlap, so no harm, no foul there. So it always gets a little bit sketchy when you see drivers side by side like that in qualifying, but either way. Got the Haas of Shiesty up to the line now. And it looks like he's going to be making his way into the pit lane. That was not an attempt that he liked, and, well, he's done. I'm assuming we're going to see Curveball. No, Curveball stayed out here. Perhaps Curveball has fueled it enough for 2 timed attempts. He'll have another one going now. The Mercedes of Reimer making his way through turn 18 and eventually turn 19 after this. Looking a very solid attempt here for the Mercedes. And across the line, provisional pole, 127.430. 10th and a half back to Angry Walrus in a very, I would say, separated top 2 here from the rest of the grid. But the dominance and the talent of these top 2 drivers is obviously something to be reckoned with here. These guys have been putting on shows all season long, and I don't doubt that it's going to happen again tonight. 11 minutes and 50 remaining in the session here, and I believe we've pretty much got our first round of timed laps done. 4 drivers still have yet to put together timed attempts. That'll be Shiesty in the Haas, Guzman in McLaren, Urban the Mercedes, and Johnny Damon in the Alfa Romeo. Everybody else has put at least something on the board. And it looks as if R. Manson's going to be coming into the pit lane here behind the 2 McLarens, unless Guzman... Let's go along with Guzman here, yet to put together a timer. Well, through turn 19 now goes Guzman. He's got clear track ahead of him, 11 minutes and 10 seconds remaining here down the pit straight and into the first corner. Bit of a fun little first complex, a bit of a first sector, this track. It's, again, and I've said this for a couple of circuits, very reminiscent to how Vietnam was. Very sweeping and quick left and rights that kind of had to keep the drivers on their toes with as little lateral grip as they had. Vietnam, another track I really wish we'd go back to. That thing was fun in F1 2020. Has to be said. Brilliant circuit. Down the straight now through turn 10. He'll be going up towards turn 11 here shortly. And in towards the horseshoe section. Looks like a pretty good lap so far. He's got clear track ahead of him. He does have Shiesty ahead, but he's only getting into the chicane now, going through 14 and 15 now. So let's see if that kind of interrupts Guzman at all. If anything, he might have a tow down the back straight by the Haas ahead. Exits turn 16. DRS will be activated here. Just over 10 minutes to go. Guzman a purple sector 2 as it would be. Urban on a timed lap now, and Urban to the line will go P3. Wow. Almost gets within a second and a half of his teammate, but first and third, that's a pretty good result for the Mercedes team so far. Guzman making his way through turns 18 and 19 now. And across the line he goes, P3, 127.764. And initially what we saw was that the top two were really separated. Guzman has kind of gotten into that picture now, into that third spot. His teammate John the Prince has gone fourth, about 1.3 behind the leader. Not a bad attempt at all from John the Prince. Next up, Curveball. Well, he's on his way in. We do also have the Williams of Hemphead, who now is on the soft tires, making his way onto a timed lap here. Into the first corner he goes. Looking pretty smooth so far. Typically at this point of the track, you'd see somebody having a bit of oversteer, really. Usually, when you're on these street-type circuits that don't have any, pre-put-down grip, the cars just slide all over the place, and somehow we're not seeing that here. It's a track where I think the first sector really relies on the downforce. Everywhere else, it's top speed. Even if you have to go through the horseshoe corner and into the chicane there, 14 and 15, you're not really relying on downforce as much just because of how slow that corner already is. So this track, as much as it looks like it's a complicated circuit with all these ins and outs, really is about the top speed. Down that backstretch and coming out of turn 10, you're going to make up a lot of time if you don't have that much wing on the car, really. Over the chicane goes Hemphead, looking pretty good, for the time being. Exits turn 16 down the back straight now. We'll pull up the telemetry. I'm just curious in his top speed. This is a lap worth holding on to here. 8 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. Back at the braking zone into turn 17, he will hit 209 miles an hour. Very good. Bong gets up next. I think he's on a timed lap as well. Into the corner he goes. He will similarly be at 209 miles an hour. We got the Alfa Romeo as Hemphead's gone 8th there, 129.568. Johnny Damon now, well, he's on a out lap here, so we won't have to worry much about this. Although behind them, one of the two AlphaTauris, it's going to be that of Backup Bandit. Reimer on an out lap as well. The next driver on a timed lap, I believe, is that of Shiesty, who at the moment appears 0.2 of a second slower through Sector 2, although we'll get that confirmation here shortly. And to the timing line, yep, he is slower by 8.5 tenths, so we'll bypass that one for now. We've got the pair of the Aston Martin drivers on track here. Angry Walrus making his way on a timer. Currently, what is that, a 10.5 quicker through Sector 1, that was. 3.5 tenths quicker through Sector 2. His teammate behind, he's going to be giving a nice little tow to his teammate here. 7 minutes to go. Angry Walrus, let's see his top speed. 209 is the fastest we've seen so far. To the line, 210, 211. 211 in the braking zone. Walrus has atop the speed trap by about a clean 2 miles an hour for the time being. 2 miles an hour, at least in motor racing, that is a lot of time, and a lot of extra as Walrus, well, there you see it, 127.152, provisional pole for Angry Walrus with 6.5 minutes to go. His teammate of Manson's actually gone 5th, almost a second and a quarter faster than his previous best attempt, so good little tow given there by Angry Walrus, and his teammate was able to do well. Johnny Damon down the backstretch now. He has not opted to go for this timed lap either. The pair of the AlphaTauri is currently at the back of the grid, although Backup Bandit quicker by 5.5 tenths. Into the speed trap he goes, 210 for him. Now, Formula cars are different from a lot of these other racing series. You're not allowed to put any more gear into these cars. That's why we're seeing them reach the rev limiter at the end of the straight. Backup Bandit, a 129.197, improves by 9.5 tenths there, up to P9. We've got Owa about to start one here. And we've got Reimer now, making his way out of the final couple of corners. 10th and a bit quicker through Sector 2. Across the line he goes, and he is short of provisional pole. 127.222, improves by 0.2 of a second, but is short by 69 nice 1,000ths of a second. 5:25 left to go here. So Owa's going to start one here shortly. We've got, I believe it's Manson. Well, he's already put down his lap. How did I forget about that already? Silly me. Curveball making his way through the turn 14 and 15 chicane now, making his way to turn 16. What does his timing say? And he is slower by a second. Gee, so somewhere along that Sector 2, he's not had a good run somewhere, and that'll effectively be the end of this qualifying attempt. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to like and subscribe. Not that it really does anything, but you know, it's that's the tagline. Yes, very nice. Be sure to like and subscribe, or Toto Wolff is going to throw some headphones at you or something. I don't even know. I need to come up with something clever for that, but anyways, we do have now... Oh, well, that's Pontiac Bandit. Now, that's going in towards turn 17. There's a very odd predicament for him, and I'm not quite sure how he's done that. Has he locked up the back end of the car that badly, as he's now been disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location? And we saw this a couple of times the other night when I broadcasted the Monkey Mafia eSports series, where we had a couple of drivers. That was at Sao Paulo, but Backup Bandit, his time, which was, I believe, enough for 9th, erased. P13 will be on the grid for Backup Bandit, who, again, was talking about how he was just starting using the cockpit cam tonight. He was actually looking pretty good, and unfortunately, the game does not give you a lot of time to get yourself out of that scenario when you are apparently parked in a dangerous location. Now, again, I don't know how he got into that situation of being spun out on the way into 17. If anything, you'll see it the opposite. You'll see it on the way out when you have to smack the throttle and get through the final couple of corners. He must have locked up the back end very much on the way into that corner. So, not entirely sure, but either way, his quali is done. 3 minutes and 5 seconds remaining now. Three drivers on timers at the moment. John the Prince, a second and a half faster through Sector 1. Did I see that right? There's no way he's that much quicker through now. What is this? This is the 6, 7, and 8 corner here. Down this little weavy straight. Well, it's not a straight or a corner. A section, I guess. Turn 9 now. And then through the sweeping left-hander of turn 10, DRS activated here. Let's see a speed trap at the end of the straight. Into the horseshoe is about 208. So I'm assuming he'll be slightly faster going through in towards turn 17. Out of the horseshoe he goes into the chicane. We were at Hungary a couple of weeks ago. I talked about the worst chicanes in Formula 1. That's a good one I forgot about. He's actually slower now by 5/100ths. Through Sector 2. Didn't really look to me as if there was any errors on that lap. That's a little bit of an odd situation there for the McLaren. Let's see if he finishes out this lap. He's going to make his way to the line. I think he had a good enough first sector where maybe he can get away with one here. He does improve by only 5/100ths of a second. So, at the moment, 7/1000ths behind R. Manson for the 5th spot. The top 3 on outlaps now. So Walrus making his way into the horseshoe now. Reimer not all that far behind. Guzman actually ahead of Reimer. Our Manson down the backstretch. John the Prince has just started one here. He's making his way through Sector 1. I believe to the line we're going to have the other AlphaTauri of Curveball starting one now. Minute and 10 remaining. So the pair of the Aston Martins are Manson up next, and I think it might be difficult for Manson to improve here. Remember, he had the good toe from his teammate in the first, that most previous quali lap he had made. Urban has gone 7th. Clean 2.5 behind the top spot. Well, the top 3, separated by another additional 0.8 of a second from 3rd to 4th, from P4 down to P9 is P10 now as Shiesty improves. Actually now all within an additional 0.5 of a second. That's a pretty good stat to have. Out of the final corner now is that of Walrus. He'll be starting his. We'll go along with his after we get done with his teammate. We do also have Guzman, remember, on a outlap now. John the Prince, who I believe, must have had a mistake, and I don't think John the Prince is going to get back to the line in time, so that'll be the end of his qualifying session. Curveball 0.2 of a second quicker exiting turn 16. Oh. Down the backstretch now. So Bongit can't get one together. John the Prince is going to make his way into the pit lane now. Curveball to the line. Does improve, but not on the leaderboards. Stays 8th. Next up, that is R. Manson. He's into the pit lane. Behind him, Johnny Damon. A second quicker through Sector 2. Through 17, going through 18 and 19 now. Johnny Damon has the opportunity to put down a good time, and across the line he goes third, 127.401. Great attempt from Johnny Damon. Hemphead does not look as if he's going to be improving. It looks as if he will stay P12, unless... No, he does go 10th. All right, 129.085. I thought it said he was slower in that sector. Excuse me for being wrong there. Reimer up to the line now. Actually, well, I don't know who that is. Aston Martin of Walrus is slower by almost a 10th and a half on that final attempt. Reimer coming around the line now. 10th and a half quicker through Sector 2. Across the line is Reimer. Provisional pole, 127.076. Guzman now across the line, and what does he get? Stays 4th. So Reimer on pole by less than 8 100ths behind Angry Walrus. Johnny Damon 3rd, Guzman 4th, Bong at 5th. So your starting grid then for the Miami Grand Prix, it's Reimer on pole by less than 8 100ths of a second over Angry Walrus, the two that we thought was going to put together a good show. Well, it looks that way at the moment. Johnny Damon 3rd, Guzman 4th. The top 4 separated by less than 4.5 tenths. Good look there. Bong it behind by about a second from the top 4. Does beat Manson by 5 100ths there. John the Prince behind Manson by 7 1,000ths of a second. Good effort there from John the Prince. Urban 8th, Curveball 9th, Hemphead 10th, Shiesty 11th, Owa 12th, and unfortunately Backup Bandits getting disqualified earlier in the session. But Reimer on pole. Let's see if he can defend. Must be allergy season or something, man. My throat has gotten very scratchy here. Reimer reppin' Jag S well. Yes, he is, I tell you what. I gotta say as well, I don't know how much, I don't know if this season will be my last in Jag. I hope I'll be able to continue longer. I'm not too sure how that's going to work out, but either way, it's been a pleasure doing that league. And I tell you what, I've run into a lot of good talent from the Jag F1 League, so hoping I get to stay and see more. Well, again, only 13 drivers on the grid tonight. I'm hoping for a clean display at least. Let me get some good racing. That would be my hope, as it, well, it should be. Just waiting for the formation lap to begin here. I'm not sure if I'll be full-time after the season. I'm a big NASCAR fan, so I've been missing a lot, but I'm committed to the season and winning the team's championship for Haas. Well, I tell you what, I think having a midday league like that, it really does have its pros and cons, especially, because you do miss a lot. But what I will say is this: Thursday, tomorrow, having my typical Thursday league, the one that started it all, going to be simultaneous with the first practice session for the Australian Grand Prix, which should be a very fun time. Thankfully, I don't have any classes on Friday, so that ought to be good enough to be able to stay awake. I'm hoping, at least while I have this good internet connection, that perhaps I can give racing a try. Once again, I haven't raced since, I'll give you the example, 15-week seasons in the Midwest, my home league, as I had just mentioned. Currently in Season 12. The last time I had raced was Season 7. So a long time ago. That was back on F1 21. So, 3 games ago was the last time I raced competitively in an F1 league. I don't know. That was, I mean, I tell you what, I don't want to say I was mediocre, but I was serviceable enough. I think we lost the Constructors' Championship by 2 points. I think I averaged, like, 9th or 10th. Not bad, especially on a grid with 18 people. I'll take that. I think the biggest problem was quali pace. I just could not get a single lap time down to save my life, but that's all right. Still just waiting for the formation lap here to begin. Sure, we'll get that confirmation here very shortly. While we have a minute, let's go over the drivers and constructor standings for the CCRL. As I'm getting pinged to the Elite Race Tier chat. That was half an hour ago. Oh, no formation lap from Urban, so we're going to get going here very shortly. I will restart the hard recording now. No formation lap is what I've been told. So we will check the standings at another convenience, because it's not going to be now. We are just about ready to go. That message provided by Urban was given a minute ago at 22:26. Currently 22:27 here on the East Coast. Yes, I have my clock in military time. Don't ask me why, because I don't really know. I think it was actually because the F1 app has all the times in military time, even if it is, like, it goes to East Coast automatically, but it doesn't actually, yeah, I'm an idiot, I actually just don't know, but that's alright. Well, I suppose I'll stand for the beginning of the race here. 13 drivers on the grid tonight, should be an interesting one to say the least, hoping for some good action. And here we are, drivers on the grid, lights turning on, 3, 4, and eventually 5. And how well does Reimer get away? I would say pretty well, with Walrus still to the inside. Oh, he's actually spun the tires quite a lot there. Walrus and Guzman will get down to the inside. Reimer losing forced positions there, with 3, so Walrus, Guzman, and R. Manson. We have a yellow flag at the back already. It is the Ferrari of Bongit, and I believe, we've got several drivers around here. We got the Haas of Shiesty. Bongit's gone around. Curveball's headed off as well. So 3 drivers having mistakes on the opening lap so far, but Walrus taking the lead. And maybe did Reimer assume that formation lap was going to be on? That seemed like a massive error on the part of the Mercedes. A driver that, isn't known for necessarily having good grid starts, but not having bad grid starts like that. To the inside now is Reimer. He'll try to get past R. Manson, and he does. This time going through turn 10. The Alfa Romeo of Johnny Damon in pursuit now. Damon will look to the outside. He'll get a 2-for-1 deal right now if he does it. A little bit of contact from behind, I think, from the Aston Martin. I'm trying to see his rear wing. I don't quite see damage, but I think that was a noticeable bit of contact there, which we just saw. Up through the chicane now, through exiting turn 16. Guzman behind by 6.5 tenths of a second. We'll check back with that in a minute. Hemphead now, who's up 3 positions off the start. Down by 3 tenths of a second. He's got Urban ahead, trying to make the move on R. Manson. He'll look to the outside, and Urban is going to get the 5th spot. Does Hemphead have any say in the battle for P6 here? Well, Manson is backed out of the corner pretty much entirely. Hemphead will stick it around the outside, and if he's able to get it, it'll be a good one, and he does, so Manson losing 2 positions there. Just after that, is now down at net 1. Remember, Manson was up to 3rd on the start there, was overtaken by Reimer, Damon, Urban, and Hemphead, and is now battling with John the Prince side by side through the opening corners. John the Prince will get ahead. Manson, I think, something is not right with that Aston Martin. I thought he had damage initially there after colliding with the back end of Guzman going into the horseshoe, but I don't know. That car was up to 3rd, remember, on the opening couple of turns there after Reimer's poor start, and now is down to 8th. And is very much under pressure here from Owa as they make their way through turn 9 and turn 10. Battle for the lead now, down to half a second. Guzman here as they make their way into the horseshoe. little bit further behind. We do have John the Prince, might be looking to make a move on Hemphead. Well, he had a temporarily thought down to the inside, but didn't see it to fruition there, nor do I think he had the real estate to make that one happen. But through the horseshoe they go. Manson goes really wide, exiting on the high side of the horseshoe. Into the chicane they go. Oh, there's a big collision there. And Manson and several drivers ahead, I think Hemphead may have been slowed by something on the way in. Several drivers hitting nose to back end there. Very calamity corner that, as it turns out. And now side by side with John the Prince, down the back straight, and Prince will get down the inside nicely. And now Owa, does he have a look on R. Manson? Yes, he does. Does R. Manson try to stay in the brakes here to the outside? He does, but he's not necessarily going to be able to keep the spot. Oh, wait a minute, good acceleration there from the Aston Martin. He has kept the spot. I think Shiesty nearly, or was it Backup Bandit, nearly went off track there a little bit too deep into the braking zone. Well, DRS is going to be activated now. They'll have that entering turn 10, going in towards the horseshoe. 14 to 19 medium to hards, 9 to 14 soft to mediums. Let's take a look at the tire strategies now, and it looks as if all but 3 have chosen set medium tires, although I'm sure Curveball was on the mediums, and has since had to stop for the hards after the opening lap. But third lap of the Grand Prix here, DRS now activated. There's a look at once more the positions gained and lost. Here's Owa within a 10th and a half here of R. Manson. He'll look to the right side. Remember, R. Manson was as high up as 3rd on the opening lap, and he's lost several positions here, and then another one to Owa on the Red Bull. Very nicely done. Backup Bandit looking forward as well. Manson way down to the inside. He will lose 3 positions in one corner. He will lose it to Owa, Bandit, and Shiesty on the way into the horseshoe. Manson down to 11th. What looked to be, initially, a very good start for the Aston Martin has turned very, very poor very, very quickly. Down the back straight they go. John the Prince within 2.5 tenths here of Urban. He will try to look down to the inside. Yes, he does. Oh, maybe not. Urban's tried to outbrake him on the outside there. He's still trying to have it around the outside, and somehow Urban will get away better. I tell you what, we've already seen a couple of times now the acceleration of that outside line of turn 17 being just that little bit better to keep the position there. We've got Manson into the pit lane. Now, this is what I was curious about. Does he have some form of wing damage? I would assume that he does. And the safety car on track. I think it was Curveball had a mistake there. I'm not too sure. It will be a front wing change there for Manson despite no visible damage. But now we are looking at the full safety car on track, and I have yet to find out why that is. Oh, well, Johnny Damon shed a front wing. That's at least cause for a virtual safety car, but why it's brought out the full one, I'm not entirely sure, and why Johnny Damon is missing the front wing, I am also not sure. And I tell you what, I don't know what the safety car setting is on, but we do have time and time again these kind of what's the word I look for? Weak safety cars, where sure a driver's missing a front wing, but I think a virtual safety car would have done just fine for that. Instead, we've got the full thing out. Thankfully, though, in the spirit of competition, still all 13 drivers on track, and we'll get a little bit of a reorganization of the grid here. So Walrus up from 2nd, Guzman up from 3rd. Reimer has dropped from 1st to 3rd after one of the poorest starts I think I've seen. He gets off the line, looks like he's doing well, spins the tires as about as much of a drag racer trying to do a burnout, and then somehow keeps the car in the throttle and in contention. As Guzman now a 5-second penalty for speeding the pit lane. That one hurts. I know it does. Not only does it hurt bad here, he's not even going to get the opportunity to serve that under this pit stop. He will have to come in again to get that 5-second penalty served. And now that'll drop him at least down to 7th, maybe 8th here. We do see Bongit staying out on track as well. Front wing change for Johnny Damon. Onto the hard tires for him. Are those the hards or those mediums? No, those are fresh mediums for Johnny Damon. Correct me if I'm wrong, that is the 2nd set of mediums he's used here, so he's going to have to stop again at some point in this race. So not that many drivers decide to pit here. Only, I think, 3 choosing to pit. Maybe more than that. Bongit stayed out. And then I'm assuming all the drivers behind, minus that of Curveball. So Owa, Damon, Guzman pit as well. So about 3 or 4. Central's telling me that there's a yellow flag in 2 sectors at the same time. It automatically deploys the safety car. Now, I don't know about you, but 2 yellow flags could be anything from a driver having a quick spin to a piece of front wing end plate falling off. That is another thing I think I'd like the game to fix, because, I mean, this game in particular, we didn't see this as much in the previous versions of the Formula 1 games. 2022 was, it was definitely worse than 21 and 20, but not that bad. This game has been absolutely terrible on bringing out just mid-safety cars like this, honestly. I know what the game is thinking. It thinks on a scale of, oh, if this is happening and this is happening at the same time, as you've just mentioned, that the safety car will need to be brought in. Why that is just makes no sense. I do not know. I do not know. This game clearly still has a lot of refining, and guess what? It comes out a month earlier this year. That tells me one thing. This next one is going to be an absolute heaping load of garbage. But, you know, I'll stay positive. Guzman has decided to come in here. Remember, he had to pit last time by. He chose to. Got the 5-second speeding pit lane violation. Into the pits now, and he'll wait the 5 seconds, and he'll go back onto the medium tires. So he's done the old switcheroo here. He's gone for the mediums, did his required lap on the other compound of the hards, put the mediums back on. Guzman, I would argue, at least for the time being here, might be on the best strategy. Although I think him and Johnny Damon similar on strategy, as far as that's concerned. Well, Angry Walrus still has the top spot. Reimer second. Urban has been promoted to third. John the Prince to fourth. Hemphead fifth. Shiesty sixth. Bong at seventh. Backup Bandit eighth. Owan ninth. Johnny Damon 10th. Manson 11th. Curveball 12th. And Guzman 13th. Despite the safety car out on track, we have kept all 13 drivers from start to finish. Well, from start to now. We're not even close to finish yet. Not even 20 laps to go. I think they ought to consider it a rule that when we have this, 13 drivers in a race, we ought to bring it down to 35%. Because 50 is like a perfect number, and that's another thing we want. We want custom input laps for races like this. We want to be able to put in exactly how much racing we want done, which might be too much to ask, but either way, here's hoping. Looks as if the safety car, well, now finally decides to come in this lap. I think it's what it's done. It's made sure the field was out of the turn 16 corner there. The safety car will now decide to come in this time by. So here are the look of the tires. We've got all but one of the top 7 on the medium tires. Walrus, who started the race on the hards, continues on the hards. Everybody else started on the mediums, still on the mediums. Everybody who had pit last time by under the safety car was backup Owa, Damon, Manson, and Guzman. Now, Guzman initially did pit for the hards. He's had to pit again. Everybody else naturally having been on the hards. And we're going to get back to green flag here shortly. It's the 2 Mercedes versus the Aston Martin. Reimer this time does get a very good jump. This time off the safety car instead of the grid. Within a couple of tenths of Angry Walrus here. Tries to look for the inside. Nothing there. Weaving their way through the first sector now. Reimer 2 tenths or less on Angry Walruses. We have a yellow flag. It's Hemphead who's gone around, and he has lost a hefty bit of the front wing there going through, what is that, turn 3. And that is going to really relegate him to the back of the grid here. He's not even having help from virtual safety cars. So that is a bad sight to see there for the Williams. Back on track, back to the action. Reimer half a second. Looks as if that Mercedes might be that much slower under straight line. We do now have, that's backup Bandit getting around Bongit. Bongit now under pressure. Johnny Damon down to the inside. The reason why the previous safety car came out, sends it down the inside, and Johnny Damon will get up to the 7th spot. Through the horseshoe now, in towards one of the worst chicanes in Formula 1. Up there with Hungary, up there with the old Barcelona chicane, up there with the Neuville chicane. Terrible. Terrible. Anyways, down the backstretch we go now. DRS yet to be... Why have I been invited to play Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection? I don't even, have that. Anyways, Guzman now trying to have a look down to the inside of R. Manson. Ooh, and I tell you what, nearly got into the back end of the Aston Martin there. Remember, R. Manson initially had a great start, has plummeted down the order, and now resides P10. Down the pit straight they go. The Haas of Shiesty tries to defend the outside, back up Bandit to the inside. The AlphaTauri gets the spot, and a little bit of contact there with the Alfa Romeo into the first corner. Now Bong at 0.2 of a second. Hemphead, well, to make matters worse, a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. Absolutely, well, unfortunate for him. When I say unfortunate, it's his fault that he's done it. Well, I can't always say that. You know, losing a bit of the front wing does, in fact, it does impact the braking performance of the cars. Johnny Damon looking to the inside on Shiesty. This is without DRS. Down to the inside they go, wheel to wheel. And on their way, heading into the horseshoe, it looks as if Guzman has gotten around Owa, that being for the ninth spot. Johnny Damon getting around Shiesty. Through the horseshoe they go, up into the chicane now. Johnny Damon, 3.5 tenths, and now 3 tenths away from Pontiac Bandit. But as they make their way exiting turn 16... we have a yellow flag. Hemphead has gone around again, this time exiting... what is that? That is turn 9. Sorry, what is that? No, turn 5, rather, sorry. And Hemphead retiring on track. Now, I don't really know this league's rule on doing that, but unfortunate to see. I would have liked to have seen all 13 drivers finish this Grand Prix, and Hemphead, well, he's lost a bit of the front wing as well. Mercedes podium or Guzman will come up? Well, it's a tough question because at the moment, Guzman, I think, is on the best strategy for now. There he goes, trying the outside of Bong it into the first corner. I think Guzman's on the best strategy for now. Still only 20 laps to go, and he's on another set of the medium tires. He will need to pit again. Remember, he started on the mediums. We had the safety car around about lap 5. 4 or 5. Guzman pit for the hards. Had a pit lane speeding violation. Had to come back out, or had to go back into the pit lane and serve the penalty. Johnny Damon now to the right side of Pontiac Bandit as they go through turn 10. And Johnny Damon's going to get that one nicely. Hemphead leaving the session, and that Williams has parked itself on the inside of the circuit. Now, mind you, he retired over by turn 5. He has come out all the way into turn 11 almost. Interesting. Anyways, 0.3 of a second here separate Owa from Bongit. That's for the 9th spot. Guzman here looking like he's making a lot of moves. DRS activated as well. They'll have it about 300 meters exiting turn 16. Well, something or another. Johnny Damon down the inside of John the Prince. I tell you what, Johnny Damon making up a lot of positions here, up to 4th. Guzman now 2.5 tenths. Doesn't look as if anybody else is going to make moves into the corner. Guzman looking to the inside of Shiesty. There he goes. Shiesty's gone way wide. That back end of the car came around a lot into the outside wall. And Guzman up to 7th. And no contact made there from the Haas. That was just pure error. And now, 1.5 tenths. Give us my podium prediction. Well, it's tough to say at the moment. I think Grimer and Walrus, well, anytime you get them on track, they're going to be podium predictions. They're going to be, podium candidates. But I think that 3rd spot really up for grabs at the moment. Urban, I think, has a very good chance, although falling behind Angry Walrus 4.5 seconds. Johnny Damon's looking quick. I think he probably is the best strategical-wise. Guzman is rocketing up the order now, but again, questions on his strategy. I don't know how that's going to play. Oh, I don't know why I went away from the battle for the lead. Well, it looks as if Walrus, he's lost the top spot there. Another thing that sucks about this game, it will retire cards in the dumbest places sometimes. That is true, and that does need to be fixed. However, I will say, the only thing I will give it credit to is that I haven't seen a car retire in the pit lane, come out on track, and cause a safety car. I saw that about 3 seasons ago in F1 22, where a car had retired in the pit lane, came out, this is at Suzuka by the way, came into the pit lane, retired, came back out, and the safety car had come out for the retired car. I have yet to see this game do that. Johnny Damon to the inside will get around Urban. Still 0.4 of a second here. I think Urban might be struggling with that car a little bit. Johnny Damon and Walrus are quick drivers in their own right, but Urban already losing a handful of time back to Johnny Damon. Curveball getting around R. Manson there. That's for P11. Shiesty now within 3.5 tenths. We're going to go back up to the battle for the lead. This is more pressing than anything else so far. It's about 4 tenths of a second. So far, Walrus doing really well. Oh, and we have a yellow flag, and as soon as I go away from Shiesty, well, it happens to be him. Thankfully, it doesn't appear that he's hit anything, and the track stays green. Well, he may have hit the inside wall, but no visible damage for the Haas. Walrus 4 tenths of a second from Reimer, making their way in towards the horseshoe now. Turn 10. To the outside looks Walrus. And he's going to get that spot. Only for now. Reimer will actually outbrake him and pull away much better going into the horseshoe. Reimer will take the lead after all that. The two McLarens inverting position there into the horseshoe. Going through turn 16 now. At the detection zone, Walrus will have DRS. Reimer will lead the pair as they make their way down the backstretch. Walrus now, he's going to have to look down to the inside, but again, the outside line has worked pretty well through 17, but Walrus is not going to give Reimer the opportunity to strike back as we have Shiesty round once again, this time heading into the chicane, exiting the horseshoe. Reimer still less than 2 tenths of a second here. Down the pit straight they go, DRS activated. To the inside, Reimer's going to take the lead back. Let's see if he's able to hold on to it. Reimer now, Reimer again on the medium tires in which he started with. Angry Walrus on the hards as yellow flag. This is curveball, and this is out prior to the pit lane entry there. Well, there we go. I was wondering where he was on the track. It's because he spun around looking the wrong way. And thankfully, again, I think the track will stay green. So 3 out of the top 5 have yet to pit. The top 2 of Reimer and Walrus. Prince back there in 5th, all yet to stop. Damon has pit from the from the mediums to the hards. Sorry, from the hards to the mediums? No, actually, you know, I think he went 2 sets of mediums. I can't remember off the top of my head. Walrus around the outside now. This is where Reimer was able to keep the spot last time, and he'll do that once again. Reimer defending well into this 11th corner. So Johnny Damon might need to make at least one more stop. Guzman has made his required stops, although a long time to go on the medium tires. He'll probably have to stop again. Backup Bandit made his stop early on. Owa getting around Bong It. Now that is on the way into the chicane. Bold place to make a move, and Owa's done just that. Exiting 16 they go. Down the front straight, down the back stretch now. Walrus chooses the inside and will get around the Mercedes this time, although maybe definitely outbrakes himself into turn 17, and Reimer gets down the inside and gets the spot back. Very nicely done from Reimer, and this time Walrus will not have a challenge into the first corner. Good little battle here for the top spot. I tell you what, Reimer and Walrus doing well in the tires, I think, for this time being equal enough to really give us a good display, although I do think Walrus is going to be the quicker car here very shortly, a couple of laps' time. I believe that was that of John the Prince in the pit lane. Yes, it is. He'll be dropped down to 10th. Still the closest battle on track now, the battle for the lead. Going through the turn 10 DRS section now. Reimer's got 8.5 tenths over Angry Walrus. Making their way up towards the horseshoe now. It looks as if Reimer is going to keep the spot for the time being, although Walrus still looking good. And again, I would assume Walrus is going to be on the better tires here very shortly. Not many drivers yet to pit here. I think these couple of drivers, only 3. So Bong It, the Ferrari, Reimer, and Angry Walrus, the 3 drivers who have yet to stop here. And I think many of them might be hoping for an additional safety car. I think we're at the point now with the round of pit stops that may not happen. Reimer ducks to the inside, goes back to the outside. It's going to save about 3 tenths of a second between the two here. Into 17 they go. Now this is where Walrus had the mistake last time, which allowed Reimer to take the outright lead of the Grand Prix this lap, and he'll keep it for now. But Walrus in pursuit still. Walrus having a look down to the inside. He's not close enough yet. So we do have Bong It and Owa moving positions back there. Yes, so I do think, no, Owa's going to lose the spot here to Manson. The Aston Martin looking down to the inside. No, and Manson's actually backed out of it there. A little surprising. I kind of thought that move was on. Good little three-car battle here for the 6th spot. We'll go back up to the battle for the lead. Walrus 0.5 of a second here. He will have DRS and will be in a very good position to have it as well. This time, though, Walrus should probably try to look down to the inside of Reimer as opposed to going to the outside of turn 11. And as a matter of fact, Walrus will not choose to attack this time by. A little surprising. Kind of thought the move was going to be made there, but not this time. Going through the chicane they go. Surprisingly enough, no drivers picking up track limits time penalties today. As we have a yellow flag. Bongit's going around no one. He's hit the wall there. That is going in towards turn 11. Very odd place to have gone around. Maybe did he have help from behind? Because that is just a very interesting place there as Walrus getting down the inside of Reimer will take the lead for now. Actually, well, I feel bad because you didn't see that move be made. I don't feel bad, though, because at the same time, I'm sure these two are going to give us this battle still. And, of course, as that sentence comes out of my mouth, Reimer decides to go in. Reimer on the way in here. I'm assuming he's going to be going to the hard tires, and yep, that's going to be his choice. So that'll promote Damon to 2nd, Guzman to 3rd. Reimer will be losing a couple of spots here. Bandit, Owa, and Manson coming around. Again, Bongit, the only other driver aside from Angry Walrus yet to pit. Bongit looks as if he'll stay out another lap, so Reimer will only be demoted back to 7th. Oh, side by side and contact with Manson there, and Manson goes round. And I have to look at this one here. I've got my monitor side by side. Reimer is exiting the pit lane. Oh, he has gone over the white line too. Hang on just a minute. I'm looking at this in real time with my monitor side by side with the race, and I really do think Reimer's gone across the white line. Oh, that's going to be a penalty. I think it's going to have to be. As Reimer exits the pit lane here, which is what I'm on with now, he exits the pit lane. As Urban getting around Bongit here around the outside. As Reimer exits the pit lane, he'll be to the inside of R. Manson making his way out of turn 2. Now, as they go side by side, yep, that was at least... Now, the rule is that you're supposed to stay within the white line. I do not know if having Reimer exit the pit lane and just barely trickling over the line there, I do not know if that is enough to warrant the penalty, but what I do know is this. Manson appeared to have suffered some massive understeer on the way in to that same corner. So that, that is, so here I'm looking at it again. Reimer to the outside quite clearly. And I tell you what, I think Manson, what he wanted to do was take the preferred line going through turn 2, and that wasn't able to happen, as now we do have Urban and Manson side by side. I think what wanted to happen was Manson was thinking that Reimer was going to back off and allow him to have the preferred line through turn 2, but as Reimer is still within the pit lane exit line, as Reimer getting around back of Bandit, as Reimer is still within the pit lane exit line, Manson kind of goes into him rather than Reimer exiting the line and going into Manson. I think having a second look at this, that is a clean exit there for Reimer. Now there is no doubt, I think he went over the line temporarily, but that is not where the contact was made. Well, that's going to be a tricky one for the stewards to look at as well, because I think realistically it would be a bit harsh to give Reimer the penalty for that, but at the same time he did exit the pit lane. Only just inches was the measurement as well. Johnny Damon to the inside. He will get around Pontiac Bandit. Apologies for me not really paying attention to the race here. I'm trying to dissect this potential penalty that could decide a race winner. John the Prince getting down to the outside of Bung there, down the back straight. Nicely done. What is this? Backup Bandit into the pit lane now. We have still yet to see Guzman make his stop as well as Bung. Well, Bung gets into the pit lane now. 4 drivers on their way in. Bandit, Owa, Manson, and Bungit on their way in. So now only Angry Walrus, who started the race in the hards, has yet to stop. Walrus now has a 5-second advantage over Guzman for the second spot. Reimer 11 seconds behind, but again, Reimer has just pit. Damon a second and a half behind Reimer. Urban doing pretty alright here, P5. Closest battle on track is that of Bong It to Manson here. Will extending the stint work for Walrus? Now, it's an interesting situation here because, again, I think, as Curveball picking up 3-second penalty there, I think Guzman will probably need to pit again. Okay, so that at least I'm confident in. Walrus will absolutely try to make this the one stop. But as we look at the gap from leader on back, Walrus does not have a comfortable enough gap. As here we go. Well, we're going to get the answer now. Well, he's done quite well to extend the stint to this point. Into the pit lane goes Walrus. Perhaps do we see him fit the soft tires? That'd be a bit of a bold strategy, but into the pit lane, and it is going to be the mediums for Walrus. So, yeah, it looks as if Walrus is going to fall down to at least 4th here, probably only just 4th. I don't know, because I think when you think about it, Reimer on the hard tires, Johnny Damon back on the mediums, although I'm pretty sure Damon might need to stop again. Remember, he, I think, was on the mediums in the first stint. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the footage to confirm that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Damon was on the mediums in the first stint. And he's only just stopped again quite recently. Now, what he's done here, I believe what he's done, well, he's made 2 stops. The first one he definitely came out of the mediums, as we have Bong It spinning on the exit of the pit lane now. What he did was he had come in and gone to the mediums. We know that. He was on the mediums before. He is now onto an additional set of medium tires. It's a really odd situation here for Johnny Damon. I do not know what it is, but we're going to get that answer in about 10 laps' time come the end of the Grand Prix. Damon, for now, though, 2-lap-old medium tires. And down the back straight he goes. Reimer on the hards. Now, that was probably a good decision from Reimer if it was about 3 laps earlier. I think at the moment, even like Walrus's medium tires are going to be better than the hards come the end of the Grand Prix. I could be wrong, but for the time being, what we did see was that Walrus's hards held up and held competitive with Reimer's mediums for about 14 laps was about the point in which we saw Walrus choose to come in. Something like that. Fastest lap belonging to Johnny Damon, who 0.3 of a second here behind Reimer for the second spot. Next time by will be 10 laps to go. We'll bring the stream back to live here. Yep, there we go. I tell you what, Reimer has had a better exit of turn 9. In turn 10 they go. 3.5 of a second here. Johnny Damon's going to have to look for it on Reimer. But again, this is the mistake that we've been seeing. Johnny Damon's going to choose the right side. Well, I thought it was going to be a mistake there, but he's gotten around Reimer well before the braking zone. Remember, Walrus was trying to do that same thing on Reimer into that same corner, and Reimer just had better acceleration around the outside and was able to keep the spot. But Johnny Damon, having the tires to just simply get around Reimer at the moment, easy enough for him. Although down the back straight now, Reimer is within 4.5 of a second here. I think it might be a fair shout if Reimer can try to make this move. No, it's just not going to be close enough there. 0.2 of a second. You have to really be right up against somebody to make a move happen. I've said this time and time again, remember the older games of F1 21. If you were within 0.3 of a second of somebody, you could absolutely make the maneuver. Guzman in here. He's pit for the soft tires, dropping him to 4th. Johnny Damon will take the top spot. Reimer within 0.2 of a second here. As Urban getting around Guzman. Oh, do we see another similar pit lane exit accident? No, we don't. Guzman there well before, thankfully enough. Good to see the tire strategy being played, though. We don't really see these in-depth tire strategies take place in only these 50% races, so it's kind of good to have a look at that. Reimer now, what does he decide to do? Is he going to choose the outside? Yes, he will. And similar to how Johnny Damon took him the first time by. Reimer is going to clear Damon by the time they get into the braking zone. But guess who? Angry Walrus in the picture for the battle for the lead once more. With 9.5 laps to go now, Walrus within 4.5 tenths of Johnny Damon. Damon within 6 tenths of Reimer, who again, we're pretty sure Reimer's car is better in the downforce heavy sections of the track. In the straight line speed, I think he is at the disadvantage here, well disadvantaged, to the 2 cars behind him. We'll see now. Down the back straight they go. Damon will choose the inside. Walrus will just look and hope for now. I think Reimer may have outbraked the Alfa Romeo. Slight bit of contact into the corner. Does Reimer hold it round the outside? No, he doesn't. He will tuck in behind the Alfa Romeo here, down to second. To the pit straight they go. Now Reimer chooses the inside. Walrus looks on and hopes that the drivers ahead make a mistake here. Into the first corner they go. Side by side through this first sector. It's a difficult first sector to nail as well, and Walrus seriously had to check up there. Reimer had really almost gotten in his way, forces Walrus to the outside, and now drops back significantly. So it's a second separating the top 3. Backup Bandit getting around. Oh, sorry, Urban's in the pit lane there. Well, DRS is in play now. What do we see from the top 3? Do we see Reimer make a move at Johnny Damon? Again, we think Reimer's tires are just a little bit... Like the decision... Again, I'll say this again. The decision to go to the hards was the right choice. I think he's done it about a couple of laps too late. And as we can see now, Johnny Damon starting to pull away. Pulling away doesn't mean much here, so as long as you can get a good exit out of turn 16, you'll have DRS. But for the time being, I think Reimer may have been short of the DRS window there. Yes, he was. Nope, no, he only just. We're talking thousandths of a second there between Reimer having and not having DRS, and it looks as if luck has gone his way this time. We do see Bongit now trying around the outside of Shiesty for the 10th spot, and the overtake being made. Does it stay that way? No, Bongit's gone way deep into the corner there, and Shiesty's going to get the spot back. Bongit concedes position. Hefty error there from Bongit, nearly had a fair shot at the position. So Backup Bandit in his first ever race using cockpit cam up 7 positions. Doing pretty good. And again, he had to pit after the first lap of the Grand Prix for the early incidents he had. And, well, I tell you what, he's doing quite good. Owa up 5 spots himself. Johnny Damon up 2, currently the leader of the Grand Prix. So the outside looks Angry Walrus. Is he going to have the opportunity on Reimer as they get towards the horseshoe? I tell you what, Johnny Damon really under pressure as well, because Reimer will have DRS to Johnny Damon. Unless he makes a significant error through the chicane here. And I think Reimer having DRS back to Damon is really going to help that Mercedes, because Walrus is, I would say, out and out the faster car out of those two, but Reimer having at least the defense mechanism of the DRS is going to really help him, although down the back straight they go. Johnny Damon leads. To the inside looks Walrus. To the inside of him looks Reimer. Reimer's actually going to make that spot happen. Reimer saw Walrus trying to challenge to the inside. Reimer said, here you go, I'll have that. And Reimer's taking the lead of the Grand Prix, and now Damon and Walrus were almost side by side there. This is getting risky. The top 3 drivers within less than 0.3 of a second as they make their way into the first corner. Brilliant battling this. I got worried seeing that we only had 13 drivers on the grid. Well, I am not complaining here. I've seen 20-car races provide more boring than this, that is for sure. This is incredible. We do have Urban getting down the inside of Owa there, but I don't think that place is going to be held. No, it looks like it does. Once again, the top 3, less than 0.5 of a second. DRS activated one more time. Next time by will be 6 laps to go. 0.3 of a second. Damon's going to try to send it round the outside. Remember, this is what Walrus tried to do on Reimer. Walrus will go to the inside, and, well, is he going to be able to get the spot? No. He's going to back out and allow Reimer the line through the corner. If he didn't, he was going to go careening into the side pod of the Mercedes. So good racemanship there, or racecraft from Angry Walrus. Live to fight another day, and that day is going to come here shortly. Pause. Whole lot of oversteer for Reimer that time, exiting turn 16. Down the back straight they go. Walrus is going to look down to the inside, nearly touching the inside wall there. And now, Walrus, does he have enough for Johnny Damon? Oh, collides with the outside wall. Heavy collisions there. Oh, I'll have to... okay, well, Reimer getting around Walrus, but yet again, I'm going to go back to the replay here just to be able to see they're going down the straight. Walrus trying to look for the outside on Damon. I think Damon may have reacted in trying to close off the line a little bit too late. Yeah, that could very well be a penalty. That could very well be a penalty for Johnny Damon there. I think he has reacted to trying to defend Angry Walrus too late. And that has to be said, looks a penalizable offense. Yes, Pontiac Bandit doing very well in his first race on Cockpit. I'll say it again. Cockpit cam's absolutely terrible in this game, no matter which settings you try to use. Not very good either which way, and he is doing a bang-up job of doing that. Walrus now around the outside of Johnny Damon, and I think we're going to see a little bit less defending from Damon this time. It's interesting, as a driver, sometimes you'll get these scenarios, which Damon has just had, where you know you might be looking at a steward report later on, but you're at the pinnacle of the battle. You can't focus on that, and so Damon may be having a bit of a think there. We're not too sure, but he's dropped a second either way. Curveball spinning on his way into the pit lane. The top three now, down the backstretch, and look at the speed Walrus has already, outside of 8.5 tenths of a second on Johnny Damon as they make their way towards 17. A little bit further back, Bandit within a couple of tenths of Urban, although he's lost a bit of time there. That was on their way in towards the Horseshoe. Five laps to go. Johnny Damon, 5 tenths of a second here. Starting to close in, and again, I think it is really the battle between those and the medium tires, but again, Johnny Damon, 2 lap older tires than that of Walrus. Have a look at the penalty tracker once more. Reimer kind of falling off the back of this battle. Again, I think those hard tires, they're the oldest out of those in the top 3. I think Reimer might just be looking at having to settle for a third-place finish unless can Guzman claw back 4.5 seconds within the last 4.5 laps of the race. Johnny Damon not quite close enough to Walrus this time. Although, again, I think the top speed between at least the top 2 has been very similar with each other. Walrus, with not having DRS, is... Reimer's gone clean across the chicane there, and, well, he'll pick up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Reimer taking what I would consider the preferred line through that corner, and the safety car out? Are you kidding me? Reimer has picked up a 5-second penalty for corner cutting and gaining a place. That puts him to 8. But Bongit losing the car, and this is going through turn, what is that, turn 3? And, well, we have a safety car here with less than 5 laps to go. Walrus into the pit lane, Reimer into the pit lane, Damon, Guzman, John the Prince. Well, I don't know. I think John the Prince is a little bit too far back. Soft tires for Damon. Soft tires for Walrus. Another set of softs for Guzman coming up here. Reimer onto the softs now. Only now down to 3 seconds of penalty. He's gotten the 5 taken off. Reimer will actually somehow stay third in all of that, despite having to serve his 3-second penalty. What a shame for Reimer. I agree with that. Well, I think, a lot of times when we see Reimer in these races, it looked promising. And I tell you what, I mean, everybody on even pace now. I think Reimer might have some pace over Guzman. I don't think enough pace to put 3 seconds back after the safety car comes in. But as Bongit, a drive-through penalty for speeding into the safety car. A little bit of an odd one there. But, I think Reimer maybe switched into desperation mode there for a little bit. You can't blame him. I think even he started to know that he was beat on strategy. And, well, I think he just went too deep into the braking zone going into the chicane. Well, I will say this, though. He's made the chicane better by just not even taking it. If that was the line through the chicane, normally we wouldn't have any problems. But either way, third place, 3 seconds of penalty, 3 laps to go next time by. Not looking good here for the Mercedes, although I do believe in his pace. I think he may still be able to get a top 7 out of this. Of course, that'll be a depressing result for him. Depressingly disappointing result for the Mercedes, if that's what it is, because I think even he knows he could have had a win today. Well, the queue not caught up to itself here, but I have a feeling the safety car is going to call itself in this time. No, we're going to wait one more. Unless does it make a very late decision. Looks like it's going to choose the wait game here, is the safety car. We're going to have 2 laps of racing after the Aston Martin. Is it a Vantage, this safety car? It's either yeah, I think it is the Vantage. The Aston Martin Vantage safety car decides to come in. That'll be next time by, hopefully. Again, another lackluster safety car put out by the game, has to be said. But this is what we deal with now in the esports world. And we'll have 2 laps to go next time by. And I think realistically, with all of these drivers being on the soft tires, it's anyone's game. Unless you've got a penalty, it's anyone's game here. And I think we're at least going to get Manson, maybe Shiesty caught up to the grid here. Curveball and Bung It are a little bit far back, and Bung It still has a drive-through penalty yet to be served. Well, this is an interesting one here for Walrus. Now on even tires with Damon and Reimer and Guzman. I tell you what, Guzman's looking quite promising here. 4 stops for Guzman in today's race. So again, what is that flickering? I apologize if you have some sort of light disorder of that, because that was dreadfully terrible flickering. Well, 2-lap shootout to the finish here. I don't need to remind you of what race this happens, as John the Prince leaving the session, and the Ghost is going to take over the car. So unfortunate for him, as the safety car, I'm assuming, is going to make its way in this time by. Finally, there it is. Walrus now. He'll have to defend. No DRS until from here to the end of the race. It's not going to happen. No DRS. It's going to be down to pure speed, pure skill. And, well, whoever makes the mistakes is going to be the one that's going to perish here. Reimer learning that the hard way, unfortunately, a couple of laps ago. Guzman, I think. I don't want to say he's going to be the favorite here, because Reimer still has an opportunity, but if he gets around Reimer quick enough, we could be looking at this McLaren on the top spot. Gonna have to wait and see. I do trust in that McLaren's pace. Walrus taking all the time in the world to get them back up to speed, and there they go. Exiting the final corner, 2 laps to go. Johnny Damon not close enough yet to make anything happen. Urban getting around the outside of the Ghost of John the Prince. Top 4 cars very close here. Backup Bandit getting up to 6th now. Johnny Damon not close enough to Angry Walrus here. As a matter of fact, he's very much under pressure from the Mercedes of Reimer. Again, Reimer having the 3-second penalty for corner cutting of the chicane before the safety card came out. He will be dropping several positions now, but the question is, does Johnny Damon have enough without DRS to get back to the Aston Martin here and challenge for the win? Does Guzman have enough? And at the time, I tell you what, Guzman looks like he's in a real trouble at the moment. He's behind Reimer 0.6 of a second, and it's only getting more. Urban down to the inside. He will get around Pontiac Bandit, but Urban goes deep into the braking zone. The AlphaTauri will get that one back. So out of the chicane and in and out of turn 16 for the penultimate time here. Again, no DRS. Down the back straight they go. Walrus has an 8.5 of a second advantage. That gap staying very stagnant between the top 2. Reimer closing in, but not by close enough. And Guzman, well, I hate to say it, Guzman not really doing anything on this stint so far, has to be said. Manson getting around John the Prince. Final lap of the Grand Prix underway, and it has to be said, without DRS, it does look as if it's going to go Walrus's way, unless he makes a mistake, which we saw earlier. The top four through the first few corners. Walrus will lead the procession here. Damon second, Reimer third, Guzman fourth. At the moment, Reimer will fall to fourth, but that is it. Pontiac Bandit has lost about 3 seconds back to Guzman, so that's good news for Reimer, and I was kind of assuming that Reimer was going to try to take this aggressive line here and hope for the best behind, as Pontiac Bandit losing now an additional half a second. He's got Urban and Owa very close to the AlphaTauri there. That could get interesting, but we stay with the lead. Top four making their way out of turn 10. It doesn't look as if anything's going to happen this time by. Urban's going to try the outside of Pontiac Bandit. There's some contact there. Owa still trying to find something here, but he's not quite close enough. Side by side, the AlphaTauri and the Mercedes. And Urban still to the inside. Doesn't look as if. Unless they're going to go side by side, and Pontiac Bandit backs out into the chicane. Contact there. Manson gets heavy into the back of Owa. Down the back straight they go for the final time, and it has to be said, unless Damon can do something incredible here, it's going to be up for the Aston Martin. Walrus decides to try to weave a little bit, try to take the toe away from Johnny Damon into turn 17 for the final time, and I have to think that the hard part of the race is over, and Angry Walrus, well, he had to fight for this one, that's for sure, but Angry Walrus, the Aston Martin, will win the Miami Grand Prix. Damon second, it'll be Guzman third, Reimer will finish fourth despite the penalty. Urban gets around Owa for fifth. Backup Bandit 7th, Manson 8th, Shiesty 9th, and John the Prince 10th. Bongit will pick up 20 seconds extra penalty for not serving his drive-through penalty, but for Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you this week in Miami. Be sure to join us next week when we head to the Portimao circuit for round 16 of the season for another redemption night here in the CCRL. Redemption, always fun. And I tell you what, that's going to be an entertaining one next week for sure.